Hello. And in this video, I'm just going to drink my tea right here. I have a hot cinnamon spice tea that I got from Harney and Sons. And here's my tablet. I am reading a book called Anxious People. And this book is quite interesting. It's a fiction book. So let's see, I'm going to just start where I left off. Yep. So the action happens in an apartment showing where supposedly a bank robber stopped by. So let's sip some tea first. So this tea has some, it's a mixture of black tea, and I have a caffeinated and decaf version as well. It also has cinnamon in it and cloves. And the cloves is what adds sweetness to the tea. It's so very nice and sweet, but still spicy. I highly recommend it. All right. Lime, Ro offered. They shook their heads. Ro looked apologetically at Roger and added, "Sorry my wife called you an emotionally challenged old fart of a husband earlier." "What did she call me? Maybe you didn't hear? In that case, it was nothing." "What does that mean? What the hell is emotionally challenged?" Don't take it personally because most people don't really understand Jules' insults. She just says them in a way that makes people understand that they're not nice. It's quite a talent. And I'm sure that you and Annalena aren't heading for divorce. Roger's eyes opened so wide that they ended up bigger than his ears. Who said anything about divorce? It's one of those couples that don't really like each other, so they appear. The rind of the lime was making Ro cough. Somewhere inside the part of the brain that controls logic and rational thinking, a thousand tiny nerve endings were jumping up and down and shouting, "Stop talking now." Even so, Ro heard herself say, no one said anything about divorce. Look, I'm sure it will all work out. But if it doesn't work out, it's actually really romantic when older couples get divorced. It always makes me happy because it's so great when pensioners still think they're going to find someone new to fall in love with. It's kind of depressing. Excellent tea. passes yet slight, and it doesn't linger because it comes from cloves. I never realized that cloves actually had some sweetness to them. Okay. Roger folded his arms. His mouth barely opened when he said, "Thanks for that. You are a real tonic. You're like a self-help book, only in reverse." The nerve impulses in Rose's brain finally got control of her tongue. So she nodded, swallowed hard, and apologized. "Sorry, I talk too much. Jules is always saying that. She says I'm so positive that it makes people depressed, that I always think the glass is half full when there's just enough to drown yourself in, and I can't think how she got that idea." Roger snorted. Ro replied dejectedly, "Well, she used to say that I was too positive. Since she got pregnant, everything's become so serious because parents are always serious, and I suppose we're trying to fit in. Sometimes I don't think I'm ready for the responsibility. I mean, I think my phone is asking too much of me when it wants me to install an update, and I find myself yelling, 'You're suffocating me.' You can't shout that at a child. And children have to be updated all the time because they can kill themselves just crossing the street or eating a peanut. I've mislaid my phone 3 times already today. I don't know if I'm ready for a human being." Excellent tea. The bank robber looked up sympathetically. "How pregnant is she, Julia?" Ro lit up at once. "Like really pregnant. It could happen any day now." Roger's eyebrows were twitching badly. Then he said, almost sympathetically, "Oh, well, if you don't want to buy this apartment, I advise you not to risk letting her give birth here. Then it will have sentimental value to her. That would push the price up really badly." Perhaps Ro should have been angry, but she actually looked more sad. "I'll bear that in mind." The bank robber let out a sigh at the other end of the bench, then groaned disconsolately. "Maybe I've done something good today after all. A hostage drama might actually lower the price." As you hear from the language of this book, it's quite comical, and maybe that's why it's so enjoyable. And the language itself, it's translated maybe from Dutch or Swedish, not sure. But the language is very witty. Okay. Roger snorted. "Quite the reverse. That idiot real estate agent will probably add as seen on TV in the next advertisement, which would make it even more desirable." "Sorry," the bank robber murmured. Ro leaned back against the wall, chewing on her lime, rind and all. The bank robber looked on in fascination. I've never seen anyone eat a lime like this, the whole thing. Is it nice? Not really, Ro admitted. It's good for preventing scurvy. Sailors used to be given lime on board ships, Roger says informatively. Did you used to be a sailor? Ro wondered. No, but I watch a lot of television, Roger replied. Ro nodded thoughtfully, possibly waiting for someone to ask her something. But when no one did, she said instead, to be honest, I don't want to buy this apartment. Not before my dad's had a look at it and decided if it's okay. He always looks at anything I want to buy to see if it's okay before I take any decisions. He knows all about everything, my dad. When is he coming? Roger asked suspiciously, taking out a pad and pencil with the name IKEA stamped on it and starting to do calculations according to various different prices per square foot. He had already listed the factors that might raise the price: giving birth, murder, if it was covered on television, Stockholmers. In another list, he had written the things that ought to lower that price: damp, mold, need for renovations. He's not coming, Rose said, then went on with more air than actual words. He's ill. Dementia. He's in a home now. I hate the way that sounds, in a home, rather than living there. And he wouldn't have liked this home because everything's broken here. The taps drip and the ventilation makes a noise and the window catches are loose and no one fixes them. Dad used to be able to fix anything. He always had an answer. I couldn't even buy a carton of eggs with a short best before date without calling and asking him if it were okay. I'm very sorry to hear that, the bank robber said. Thanks, Ro whispered, but it's okay. Eggs last a lot longer than you think, according to Dad. There's the cinnamon right there on the bottom. Maybe. I buy this tea loose, or really any tea, and I use these metal containers. It's much better and more sustainable. Kind of like it as well, to not make more waste than necessary. Oh well, if you don't want to buy this apartment, I advise you not to risk letting her give birth here. But then it will have sentimental value to her. Oh, did I read it already? Yes. Roger wrote dementia in the pad and felt sad when he realized it didn't make him happy. It didn't really matter who their competitors for the apartment were. Roger still had Annalena. So he put the pad back in his pocket again and muttered, That's true. It's the politicians manipulating the market so we eat eggs quicker. He'd seen that in a documentary on television, broadcast right after one about sharks. Roger wasn't particularly interested in eggs, but sometimes he sat up late in the evening after Annalena had nodded off because he didn't want to wake her up and have her move her head from his shoulder. Ro rubbed her fingertips together. She's the sort of person who has her emotions there and said he wouldn't have liked the radiators in the home either. They're those modern ones that adjust the temperature indoors according to what the temperature is outside, so you can't decide for yourself. As the tea gets closer to the bottom, it gets sweeter and spicier from what's left in this container. I really should take it out, but I don't have that little plate on the bottom. So I'll just keep collapsed. Maybe I'll lower it down if I can. Nope, can't do that. Ugh, Roger exclaimed because he was the sort of man who thought a man should be able to decide the temperature of his home for himself. Rose smiled weakly. But Dad loves Jules, like you wouldn't believe. He was so proud when I married her, he said she had her head screwed on. Then she suddenly blurted out, I'm going to be a terrible parent. No, you're not, the bank robber said consolingly. But Ro persisted, yes, I am. I don't know anything about children. I babysat my cousin's kid once, and he didn't want to eat anything and kept saying it hurts the whole time. So I told him it only hurt because his wings were about to grow out, because all kids who don't eat their food turn into butterflies. That's sweet, the bank robber smiled. It turned out he had acute appendicitis, Ro added. Oh, the bank robber said, no longer smiling. Like I keep saying, I don't know anything. My dad's going to die, and I'm going to be a parent, and I want to be exactly the same sort of parent he is. And I didn't get around to asking him how to do it. You have to know. So is. Oh no, you have to know so much as a parent. You have to know everything right from the start. And Jules keep wanting me to make decisions the whole time. But I don't even know. I can't even decide if I should buy eggs. I'm not going to be able to do this, Jules says, and I keep finding fault with all the apartments on purpose, just because I'm scared of, I don't know what, just scared of something. Well, that was a little part of my book. It's quite an interesting book, for sure. I've read almost all of the books by this writer. And they're just fabulous, I think. It's Frederick Backman. For some reason I forgot his name. And he wrote a lot of deep books as well that are so easy to read. He's the author of The Man Called Ove or Uwe. So if you like that book, you might like this one. This came out in just in September. Couple of items I just have here. This little circle contained a strip light. Those LED lights. I'm not a big fan, honestly. I prefer regular Christmas LED lights instead of those strip ones. But the plastic thing is kind of fun to handle. So cheap. Thin plastic. And then I have here battery. Berkeley and Jensen battery. Still good actually. And Berkeley and Jensen is also known as BJ's on the East Coast. It's a kind of a supermarket, Costco type of place where you can buy a whole bunch of stuff for pretty low prices. And it's there's no membership or anything. So I loved BJ's. It's a great place to shop. Well, I think that sums up my video today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a great Christmas, and we'll have a wonderful New Year's Eve. I know we can't gather up and party this year, but that's okay. There's so much more to spending New Year's at home than even going partying. I do remember that a few times I just spent it in my apartment, watching a movie, drinking hot chocolate, eating a cookie, just a lot of fun. So it's what you make out of it, right? All right. Take care of yourself, and as always, be kind to one another. Goodbye.